Hello, I'm Mariah, and Neonstar couldn't be here today. Today I'm going to be talking about bullying. Since Neonstar isn't here to say, oh, I'm going to be forgiving and give people the benefit of the doubt, I'm going to be fully myself, petty and vengeful. Disclaimer, Mariah's views are her own and do not reflect Neonstar Productions as a whole. I'd say my first experience of bullying was from my older sister, but siblings always bully each other somewhat. I love her, I guess, and I won't hold it against her. Besides that, I was bullied in school almost immediately. Unfortunately, kids can smell neurodivergency like blood in the water. I've never met a single neurodivergent person who wasn't bullied. I liked playing on my own, being lost in my own head, so I was ostracized from a young age. On the first day of kindergarten, or maybe the day after, a boy I'll call Robert decided that he hated me, and I hated him right back. I can't even remember what he did, but he pissed me off to no end. His last name was close enough to mine that when we had to line up, he was always behind me. He ended up in both my kindergarten and 4th grade classes. I also saw him in my 10th grade art class, but I only went like twice, so I didn't interact with him at all. Other than being mocked and called the R slur, the bullying that affected me the most in elementary school was when my rabbit died. As a kid, I was obsessed with rabbits, and my family adopted a bunny when I was 9 years old. You can watch the video up there if you want to see how that went. But in short, she died, and no one was cool about it. Almost everyone in my class called me a stupid baby for caring about a rabbit. So as it turns out, children are unfeeling monsters who have never heard of empathy or compassion. I do hope they've grown up, because I can't imagine they'd get the same reaction if they said this to someone who just lost their dog, unless they want their nose to be broken. And it wasn't just school where I was picked on. In the neighborhood I grew up in, there were other kids, many of them older than me, and I was often laughed at, or even worse, anyone who was nice to me would laugh at me behind my back. Even at the store I was gawked at like a zoo animal. And now I am completely well-adjusted! And I was also picked on by teachers. In the 1st and 2nd grades, my teacher, Miss B, was the worst. She'd single me out and make the whole class laugh at me. I would just leave my seat and hide from everyone. There was also this teacher that I didn't even have that mocked me for wearing cat ears and falling out of a swing. He called me an idiot to my face. Even though I told my teacher about it, she wouldn't believe that a teacher would do that. Honestly, some people just shouldn't be teachers. Middle school was where I was bullied the most. I was the quiet girl who sat in the front of class and hid away in a jacket. I had no backbone, so I was an easy target. For instance, there was a group of people that would harass us at lunch. They would mock us for liking anime, even though I gave no indication that I liked anime. Guess it was just the vibe. They would also make loud noises and drag their squeaky shoes across the ground, because they knew V and I were noise sensitive and it would tick her off. One of these people was actually an acquaintance from band class. One day I'd had enough. After lunch, I went to band class fuming. My band director asked what was wrong, and I told him about the constant harassment we'd experienced at lunch. The acquaintance got defensive when I called her out for being one of them, but she did give up the name of the main bastard, and I gave the information to the counselor. I'm not sure if they actually did anything, but I don't think they bothered us much after that. They weren't the only ones, though. I was called a nerd for liking Star Wars, even when I hadn't seen it, just because I wore a jacket with Star Wars stuff all over it. I had things thrown at me. A girl in science refused to even touch the same pencils as me. In gym, I was constantly tripped, shoved, and yelled at for being too slow, to the point I would refuse to participate and sit in the back to cry. I still can't do grapevines as fast as everyone else did. And God forbid I make any kind of mistake in group activities. If I missed a single shot in basketball, I became a social pariah. V tried to defend me when she was there, but she wasn't always there. I hate sports. All of these were primarily in the 6th grade, but things persisted in 7th and 8th grade. In fact, I had a bully in the 8th grade that was a friend, until she refused to support me for being LGBTQ. She constantly mocked V for her appearance even when we were friends. And then there was the time she brought a knife to school after writing about how much she wanted me and my friends to die. Clearly a very mentally stable person. Nothing changed when I got to high school. I had another gym class, which seems to be the class where people hated me the most. I remember running to throw things into a ring, and one bounced out when I was running back, so my entire team screamed at me for messing things up. I was also the first out when it came to the fitness gram pacer test, and I absolutely got mocked for that. Math is the second class that people hated me the most in. Maybe that's because I was put in gifted English and social studies, where I was with people like me. Although I did have a bully in my middle school gifted classes. But I was in regular math, because I thought I wasn't smart enough to be in gifted math. I'm super not confident when it comes to math. And when other kids saw this, they just assumed I was stupid. I hate being called on in class. When I get overwhelmed, sometimes I physically cannot speak. And there were several times in this class when I got called on, and all I could do was stare at the teacher. Eventually she just gave up, and the kids would tell subs not to call on me because I wouldn't answer. I was fine with this actually, but the other kids just assumed that I didn't speak because I was dumb. I still vividly remember being called up to solve a problem on the board, and walking past this boy that muttered, "She's really stupid," and laughed with his brain-dead friends. I still remember the feeling of humiliation and rage rising in my chest. I still fantasize about grabbing a textbook and rearranging his face, or at least loudly shutting him down. But I dropped out, so I've run out of bullies to talk about, so it's time to hop up on my soapbox. If you're being bullied, it's not your fault. It doesn't matter what race, gender, sexuality, or anything else you are that you cannot change. It is not your fault. You don't deserve to be harassed by fucking assholes. Go to a trusted adult for help, and if they don't, stand up for yourself. I will always regret that I didn't. I'm still traumatized by the constant vitriol I got just for being myself. Alright, that's enough lecturing. If you liked this video, you might like the video up there. You can stay safe if you want, I guess. Bye! Nyonstar? I thought you couldn't be here today. What? You pushed me down the stairs! Oh, come on, it was more of a nudge. I'll nudge you! Ah!